Welcome to Smacky's Garage. Today we're going to be answering the question, does driving a car after installing lowering springs cause it to settle? As you know, in the last video we installed lowering springs in my 69 Mustang behind me and it didn't lower. I mean, I wanted it to get lower. The target was to lower it 1 inch, but after installing the springs, it just didn't lower. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take the car out for a drive and we're going to answer that question of when you drive it, are the springs going to settle? But first we're going to take measurements of the front of the car to see how high the fenders are off the ground so that we can see if it drops. So let's go ahead and take some measurements. Yeah, it looks like when we look at the passenger side, we're about 27 inches off the ground. So maybe, yeah, just about 27 to the bottom of the quarter. The bottom of the front fender. On the driver's side, let's hope we're about the same. We are about the same. We're about 27 inches off of the... We're still about 27 inches off, so that's good. It's good news that they're the same. I was really hoping that they would be. When I look at the rear is about 28 and a half, so the rear is really high from where I think it should be. You know, I think originally they were around 27, but this is up in the air. Driver's side is the same. It's about 28 and a half. That's really high. Let's go for a drive. All right, we're back from the drive, so let's see exactly where we are. Let's go ahead and take a measurement of it. All right, let's go ahead and see where we're at. So it actually did drop some. We're now sitting at 26 3/4. So I guess it did settle in a little bit. Now let's check the other side. We're gonna go ahead and check this side. This side is also at 26 3/4. So it did drop. All right, now it's time to make some sense of it. So we're about 26 3/4 off the ground, which is exactly where we were before we put the lowering springs in. So when we look at how much it actually dropped from the original when I first put the springs in until now, it dropped about a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 of an inch just by driving it around for 20 to 30 minutes. So I guess that answers the question of yes, it does actually drop after you've driven it for a little bit. My guess is the springs are settling into their correct locations and everything is kind of bouncing around, getting lined up right. So still begs the question of what we're going to do here. How are we going to lower the car? It still needs to be done, but we're just going to end up probably cutting the springs. So we answered the question of is it going to drop, and it did. I've put together a plan of how we're going to lower the car. So we're going to start by redoing the rear leaf springs. I'm going to replace the ones that are on there with some lowering springs. We're going to go from the standard ones that are there to a 1 inch drop. Hopefully get us down another inch, maybe 1.5 inches to the right place. And then we're going to move to the front. So with the front springs, we're going to end up cutting coils. I'm hoping not too much off the spring. I don't think you can cut that much off the spring. So after the rear has settled into place and I can see the height that is going to end up being, then I can figure out how much I want to cut off the front to make sure that it still has a good look, because the last thing I want to do is have the front be higher than the rear of the car. So that's the plan going forward. Thanks for tuning in today on Smacky's Garage. Don't forget to like and subscribe as we follow along the restoration of this 1969 Mustang.